See, I could hear my Woodman Jack impersonation as I try to explain something new to you. It's not really all that new. It's been done before. It's about the different names and different companies and different networks and different places and different parts of the world. We're going to call ours library time. I'm going to tell you what it is. I went through the Land by the State Library and pulled out a bunch of classics that was bought for me or my father or my mother or somebody. I don't know who they were bought for, brought here by or whatever. Some of these classics made it here and stayed in our library. And I've had to read a lot of the classics as I went through my study of history and philosophy and the humanities and theology. So what I'm going to try to do with my communications is make all of this digestible to the average Corriganite. And I'm going to try to pick selections that might even relate in some way to current events, because it's Corrigan now. And well, I'll kind of maybe explain a little background about the author and maybe what he was trying to say when he was writing it. Then we'll do a little lead into the work we're doing, and then I'll just read you directly an excerpt or a short story. And this is going to be the show. It's going to probably be 30 minutes or less. Now I want to let y'all know something about my introduction to philosophy grade. Look, at Indiana University, an A minus is a 3.7. Your boy did not get any perfect marks at Indiana University. I believe my GPA is 3.6 or 3.7 there. I cannot remember. I think it's 3.7 to philosophy, because philosophy can be a scary topic. This is kind of a little bit about the ethics of epistemology. What do you say? Was that English? Yeah, it was a form of English. It's called philosophy jargon. Let's just say that we're going to talk about philosophy in general. Ethics has to deal with value, and epistemology has to deal with knowledge, and sub-knowledge is truth. But don't think we're about to touch on truth too much. I'm not really ready to tackle on that. Let's see if we can develop some autonomy. You know, become better free thinkers. Become more independent in our thinking. And, you know, have less maybe what they call a groupthink problem, which caused the Challenger space shuttle to explode. So there we go. Tucson, Arizona. In direct defiance of immigration statutes, the Reverend John Fife and his compatriots in the sanctuary movement helped Central American refugees across the American border, across into the United States. They find food and shelter for them, often in churches, and then transport their wards through relays to such cities as Chicago, Los Angeles, Cincinnati, and Seattle. 200 churches publicly have declared their status as sanctuaries, and as the pastors, priests, rabbis, and lay workers who have joined, repeat. 200 churches publicly have declared their status as sanctuaries, and the pastors, priests, rabbis, and lay workers who have joined the movement speak freely about their work. When you hear about the fear and the violence and the tortures these people face at home, you have little choice but to help. Said Jill Lewis of Christ Church Presbyterian in Burlington, Vermont. The Bible says that God takes sides, and He tells us to take the side of the needy. We are acting out our faith, said Peggy Hutchison, who is in charge in the same federal indictment on S5, and 14 other sanctuary workers. We believe very strongly in what we are doing. Pipe said, you have to help the refugees or else you lose your soul. Ruth Ann Myers, District Director in Arizona for the Immigration and Naturalization Service, insists that the government's position is simply that it is against the law to smuggle, harbor, or transport aliens into the United States. This sounds like pretty much common sense to me. The law doesn't say if good people are doing it, it's okay. Or if the people doing it think the law is wrong, it's okay. That's what Myers added. It's like bombing. Here's what they're comparing it to. It's like the bombing of abortion clinics. These are people who take the law into their own hands for religious reasons. The bombing of abortion clinics, for real. Some logical inconsistency here, I believe. Sanctuary activists argue that it is too difficult for Central Americans to prove to the satisfaction of the INS that they will be murdered or tortured if they are returned home. All of the Arizona activists facing trial have said they will suspend their sanctuary activity as long as they are free. 25 unindicted co-conspirators from places such as Seattle, Germantown, Pennsylvania, Rochester, New York, have said they will continue their work and plan to refuse to testify against their indicted friends. Even if all of the activists are charged and jailed, Pipe said, the movement will not stop. They cannot put Jim and I away for years, and sanctuary will go like, she says, they can put Jim and I away for years, and sanctuary will go like gangbusters. They say lock us up, and it'll still go like gangbusters. It says, no one runs this movement. It runs by itself on faith. It's not a lot of righteous movement, maybe. But they're being civilly disobedient. And this is going to be the difference, you wanted to know, between those bombing abortion clinics and these folks here. I'm going to tell you exactly where this news story came from. In January 1985, 16 people, including 2 Roman Catholic priests, a Presbyterian minister, and 3 nuns, were charged with illegally smuggling and sheltering these Central Americans. They were refugees and were fleeing from torture and murder in their home countries. War-torn even. Now the 16 people charged with illegally helping refugees argued that giving sanctuary to the refugees was a matter of conscience and that they were obligated to obey their conscience rather than the law. Several newspapers carried the story. I think I probably would have too. It's a matter of value and ethics. It's where law changes. Yeah. In the United States, this is how the law changes. People stand up. Civil disobedience. Martin Luther King. If we want to get an example from recent, not too recent history, but modern history, if you want another good example from another country that is stronger than Martin Luther King, in my opinion, is Gandhi. Not a very good movie, though. It's a good story, but it's not a good movie. This story brings... We're all talking about immigration now, but Trump. This is what I'm trying to get at. And this story brings it to us. This is where I'm bringing it to you. I took something from 1985, looped it into 2017, didn't I? Off a textbook. This is what we did. We're going to get over here to Voltaire. Now, what you need to know about Voltaire. Before there was such a thing as a Bill of Rights or a Declaration of Independence, Voltaire done put out thousands of writings, even tens of thousands of writings, discussing such civil liberties as freedom of religion and freedom of speech. Big advocate, huge advocate of the separation of church and state in France, where the French king was still holding absolute control in the monarchy, unlike in England where they had the Magna Carta. Okay, so this guy's kind of a weird character to have come from where he's coming from. He's French, during the time right before the French Revolution. We're going to call it the 18th century because he was born about 1696, and if my memory serves me correctly, and he lived on till about the Revolutionary War or so, somewhere up in there. So he's an 18th century writer. And he's going to tell us about the value of knowledge. We're going to learn about the value of knowledge off this reading I'm about to read you now. We're getting down to the nut cutting of the matter, as I like to say. Maybe that's some of that prison potty mouth. Doesn't make it any less true. Appreciate y'all for bearing through my sniffles and Wolfman Jack voice. The Story of a Good Brahman by Voltaire. I met on my travels an old Brahmin, a very wise man, full of wit and very learned. Moreover, he was rich and consequently even wiser, for lacking nothing, he had no need to deceive anyone, no need to lie. His family was very well governed by 3 beautiful wives who schooled themselves to please him, and when he was not entertaining himself with his wives, he was busy philosophizing. Sounds like for a philosopher, a life of P.T. King. Now, near his house, which was also beautiful, well decorated, and surrounded by charming gardens, lived an old Indian woman, bigoted, imbecilic, and terribly poor. The Brahmin said to me one day, "I wish I had never been born." I asked him why, looking at everything that he had. He replied, "I've been studying for 40 years, which is 40 years wasted. I teach others, and I know nothing. This situation brings into my soul so much humiliation and disgust that life is so unbearable to me. I was born. I live in time. I do not know what time is. I find myself in a point between eternities, as our ages say, and I have no idea of eternity. I am composed of matter, I think, and I have never been able to find out what produces thought. I do not know whether my understanding is a simple faculty in me like that of walking or digesting. Whether I think with my head as I take with my hands. Not only is the principle of my thinking unknown to me, but the principle of my movements is equally hidden from me. I do not know why I exist. However, people every day ask me questions on all these points. I have to answer. I have nothing any good to say. I talk much. I remain confounded and ashamed. I remain confounded and ashamed of myself after talking. It is much worse yet when they ask me whether Brahma was produced by Vishnu or whether they are both eternal. God is as my witness. I don't know a thing about it. And it certainly shows in my answers. "Ah, Reverend Father," they say to me, "teach us how it is that evil inundates the whole world." I am as much at a loss as those who ask me that question. I sometimes tell them that all is for the very best. But those who have been ruined and mutilated at war believe nothing of it. Neither do I. I retreat to my house, overwhelmed with my curiosity and my ignorance. I read our ancient books. And they redouble the darkness I am in. I talk to my companions some answer that we must enjoy life and laugh at men that others think that they know something and lose themselves in absurd ideas. Everything increases the painful feeling I endure. I am sometimes ready to fall into despair when I think that after all my seeking, I know neither where I come from, nor what I am, nor where I shall go, nor what shall become of me. The state of this good man caused me real pain. No one was either more reasonable or more honest than he. I perceived that the greater the lights of his understanding and the sensibility of his heart, the more unhappy he was. The same day I saw the old woman who lived in his vicinity. I asked her whether she had ever been distressed not to know how her soul was made. She did not even understand my question. She had never reflected a single moment of her life over a single one of the points that tormented the Brahman. She believed with all her heart in the metamorphosis of Vishnu, and provided she could sometimes have a little water from the Ganges to wash in, she thought herself the happiest of women. Struck by the happiness of this indigent creature, I returned to my philosopher and said to him, "Aren't you ashamed to be happy at a time when right at your door there is an old automaton who thinks nothing and who lives happily?" "You're right," he answered. "I have told myself 100 times that I would be happy if I was as stupid as my neighbor. And yet, I would want no part of such a happiness. The answer of my Brahman made a greater impression on me than all the rest. I examined myself and saw that indeed I would not have wanted to be happy on the condition of being imbecilic. I put the matter up to some philosophers, and they were of my opinion also. There is, however, I said, a stupendous contradiction in this way of thinking. For after all, what is at issue? Being happy? What matters being witty or being stupid? What is more, those who are content with their being are quite sure of being content. Those who reason are not so sure that they are reasoning well. If they have humility. That we should choose not to have common sense if ever that common sense contributes to our ill-being. Everyone was of my opinion, and yet I found no one who wanted to accept the bargain of becoming an imbecilic in order to become content. From this, I concluded that if we are to set store by happiness, we set even greater store by reason. But upon reflection, it appears to prefer reason to felicity is to be very mad. Then how can this contradiction be explained like all the others? There is much to be said about it. Did you think this was going to be simple and I was going to leave you with an answer? Philosophy is about asking good questions. But you'll have some good ones for next week.